My grandma died in March, and like every family that doesn't know what to do with grief, we turned her house into some sort of project. There were boxes for donations, boxes for trash, boxes for Ask Mom, and one small cardboard box in the hallway closet labeled, and in Grandma's handwriting, it was written, "Do not play these." Nobody had seen these before. Inside was 8 VHS tapes. No cases, just masking tape labels written in faded blue marker. Christmas 1989, Lake Trip 1991, Thanksgiving 1994, Basement Leak, Mom's Birthday, Do Not Copy, Camcorder Test, and one with no label at all. My mom laughed when she saw them, not because they were funny, but because people laugh when they're uncomfortable and they don't know what to do or how to admit it. She was dramatic. Mom said she probably wrote that after watching Dateline, but she still didn't take the tapes home. I did. I'm 32 and I make wedding videos for a living, so old films are kind of my thing. I didn't even own a VCR anymore, but I found one online from a guy named Darren, who sold tested vintage electronics out of his garage. The first tape I tried was Thanksgiving 1994. It was mostly what you'd expect. Bad tracking, warped audio, everyone glowing orange from the kitchen lights, my uncle with a mullet, my mom 20 years old, looking exactly like me, but thinner and meaner, Grandma at the stove stirring gravy and telling whoever held the camera to not film her neck. Nothing strange. Not at first. The tape lasted 27 minutes, then cut to blue. The next day, I uploaded it to an AI restoration program I use for clients. It sharpens faces, cleans noises, stabilizes shaky footage, and fills damaged frames using surrounding information. It's not magic. It guesses, that's all. At least that's what I believed. The restoration file came back 6 hours later. The program generated a report with the usual tags: low light, motion blur, audio distortion, but one line was highlighted in yellow: unidentified face detected, persistent across 418 frames. I assumed it meant my uncle or my mom. Maybe a reflection in the window, so I opened the restored video. For the first 10 minutes, it looked incredible. Too incredible, honestly. Everyone's faces were clear. Grandma's kitchen wallpaper had tiny yellow flowers I never noticed in the original. You could read labels off of the corn syrup sitting on the sink. Then at exactly 12 minutes and 14 seconds, I saw him. A man stood in the hallway behind my grandma. He wasn't in focus. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't doing anything theoretical. That made it even worse. Tall, thin, gray suit, white shirt buttoned to the throat, one hand resting against the hallway wall like he'd paused on his way into the room. I rewound. In the original tape, that part of the hallway was just black VHS noise. In the restored version, he was visible for almost 15 seconds. I paused on the clearest frame and stared at his face until my eyes watered. He looked maybe 50. Long jaw, heavy eyelid, dark hair combed flat to his scalp. He had the expression of someone waiting to be acknowledged. I sent the screenshot to my mom. She replied almost immediately. "Who is that?" I typed, "I was hoping you knew." 3 dots appeared on my phone. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then she called. "Where did you get that picture?" I responded, "From Grandma's Thanksgiving tape." "No," she said. "Where did you really get it?" That was the first time I got scared. Because my mom doesn't scare easily. This is a woman who has once removed a possum from our garage with a broom and a laundry basket. I play the restored clip over that video chat. She watched silently. When the man appeared behind Grandma, my mom covered her mouth. "That hallway was blocked off," she whispered. "What?" There was no hallway there in 1994. I thought she meant she didn't remember it correctly, but she insisted. Grandma's house had been remodeled in the late 80s. The hallway behind the kitchen used to lead to 2 back rooms, but after a flood, Grandpa sealed it. Drywall insulations, shelves. By 1994, it had just been a wall. I didn't believe her. So next morning, I went back to Grandma's house. That kitchen was empty now. The yellow flower wallpaper was gone, painted over in the 2000s. But the shelves were still there where my mom said they would be, built into the wall behind the stove. I knocked on the paneling, which is the wall that was built on top. Hollow. That night, I restored the other tapes. On Christmas 1989, the man stood outside the living room window. Through the window reflected colored tree lights so badly, I almost missed him. He was in the yard, facing the glass. On Lake Trip 1991, he appeared in the background near the trees. Everyone else wore shorts and swimming suits. He wore the same gray suit. On Mom's birthday VHS, he stood behind my grandma in a mirror. His head was tilted, like he was trying to fit into the frame. Each time, the original VHS looked normal. Static, blur, darkness, nothing. Every time, the AI pulled him out. By the 4th tape, I noticed something else. The program didn't label him as a new person. It called him face_03 every time. That isn't supposed to happen. The software doesn't know my family. It doesn't build some permanent haunted database of faces from separate uploads. It processes each video individually unless you create a project library, which I hadn't. I emailed customer support with all the screenshots. A technician named Mara responded 2 days later. Her first email was calm. She said systems can sometimes create these things called face continuity artifacts if analog noises resembled human features. Basically, the AI can hallucinate a person. I wanted to believe that. Then she sent a second email 10 minutes later. "Actually, can you upload the raw files again? Please don't delete the originals. Our model is detecting the same face signature in multiple sources. That's unusual." Unusual. That's the word people use when they don't want to say impossible. I uploaded everything. While I waited, I played the tape labeled Basement Leak. The original showed Grandpa walking around the basement with a flashlight. The date stamped was 1997. The audio was horrible, mostly hissing, and the wet slap of his shoes. The restored version was clearer. Too clear. At 6 minutes in, Grandpa aimed the camera at the wet stain spreading across the concrete wall. He muttered, "Coming across the old room again." Then Grandpa off camera said, "Don't say that." Grandpa replied, "He is not going to hear me." Then the tape went silent. Then from behind the wall, a man's voice said, "I hear fine." I ripped my headphones off so fast, they hit the desk. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, my mom came over. I showed her the clip. She cried before the voice even happened because she remembered that basement. She remembered Grandma refusing to store anything near the north wall. She remembered Grandpa patching cracks that kept reopening, but she didn't remember the man. Or she said she didn't. When I showed her the still frame from Thanksgiving again, she stared at it for so long. Then she said, "Ask your Aunt Lydia about Leonard." That name meant nothing to me. Aunt Lydia is my grandma's younger sister. She's 81, sharp as a needle, and hates talking on the phone unless someone died. When I asked about Leonard, she went silent long enough that I thought the call dropped. Finally, she said, "Your grandma told me never to say that name in that house." Who was he? A boarder? That was the word she used. Not a boyfriend, not husband, not friend. Boarder. In 1968, before my mom was born, Grandma and Grandpa rented one of the back rooms to a man named Leonard Voss. He worked nights at a packaging plant, paid cash, kept to himself. Then one winter night, he disappeared. Grandma told everyone he moved out, but Aunt Lydia said Leonard's sister came looking for him. She said Leonard had left his coat, shoes, wallet, and glasses. Grandma insisted he took the bus somewhere out to a new location somewhere. No police report went anywhere. Leonard was a grown man. Adults were allowed to vanish back then without the world caring much. What happened to his room? I asked. Aunt Lydia breathed into the phone. Your grandpa sealed it. That night, Mara from the AI company emailed me again. Her message only had 3 sentences. We reviewed the raw uploads. The figure is not generated by our restoration model. It is present in the source's material, below normal visibility thresholds. Please discontinue processing these tapes through our systems. Below that, she added, one more thing. Did you intentionally include a 9th file? I hadn't. Attached to her email was a thumbnail from a restored video I never uploaded. The image showed Grandma's kitchen, not in 1994. Now, present day. The walls were bare, the counter empty. The built-in shelves below the stove had been ripped away, and standing in the open black space behind them was Leonard Voss. I drove to Grandma's house at 11:30 that night like an idiot because grief makes you stupid and fear makes you stupider. The shelves were intact when I arrived. I knew they were there because I stood in the kitchen staring at them, holding a crowbar in one hand and my phone in the other. There was a smell coming from the wall. Wet dirt, old wood, something metallic. I pried off the first panel. Behind it was drywall. I busted through the drywall. Behind that was not insulation. It was a door. Small, narrow, painted the same color as the old wall. Sealed around the edges was a layer of caulk and tape. Someone had scratched the words into the wood from the other side. Not deep, not dramatic, just desperate little cuts. She said I could stay. I called the police. They found bones in the sealed room. Not a full skeleton. Not enough to make it clean or simple. Just pieces. A jaw, ribs, finger bones, a pair of wire glasses crushed under a rotted chair. They also found an old camcorder on a shelf, wrapped in a towel. The battery was dead. The tape inside had molded so badly, nobody thought it would play. But I had digitized it anyways. I know I shouldn't have. The recovered footage is only 43 seconds long, mostly static. The camera is on a floor, angled up at the room. You could see the bottom of the door. You could hear Leonard breathing, then Grandma's voice, younger than I'd ever heard, says from the other side, "I told you not to look at me that way." Leonard whispered, "Please." There was a pause. Then Grandma says, "If you stay quiet, they'll forget you." The tape cut out. My mom wouldn't speak about it. Aunt Lydia says some families are held together by what everyone agrees not to know. The police still haven't told us much, except that the remains are old and that they're looking into it. But 3 days ago, I got one final email from Mara. No subject line, no explanation, just an attached image. It was a frame from my webcam, just me asleep at my desk. Behind me, in a dark reflection on my monitor, stood Leonard. Only this time, the AI had labeled two faces. Face_03, Leonard Voss. Face_04, unknown elderly woman. And there over my shoulder, almost hidden behind me, was my grandma, smiling.